Hello everyone, welcome to this special edition of CGTN. We're broadcasting live at the CGTN Guangzhou studio in South China. Today is World No Tobacco Day, so probably it's going to be a chance to encourage those smokers to quit smoking temporarily and hopefully for a day. China, the largest consumer, also producer of tobacco, is tightening its rules on smoking in public places. In some Chinese cities such as Beijing, Shanghai, or here in Guangzhou, or in Shenzhen. And especially some cities have taken it a few steps further. Like in Shenzhen, the city has already issued some new regulations to ban even vaping or e-cigarettes in the public places. So how do youngsters living in this country look at China's tightening rules on smoking bans? So today I have my wonderful panelists here, and most of them are college students. So hi everyone, would you like to say hi to our viewers around the world?
Okay, hi.
Hi. So today we're going to talk about traditional cigarettes as well as e-cigarettes. Okay, I'm going to ask each of you, I'm going to start from you. So are you a smoker, and how do you see China's smoking culture?
Okay, me?
Yeah.
I'm not a smoker. I smoked once, and the cigarette is delivered by my boss. Mm-hmm. So he just asked me whether I would like to smoke, and I feel it's a little bit like implies or rude to reject this.
To reject your boss?
Yeah, yes. So I think for me, the smoking is like a culture in China, which is really different from the foreign countries. Because in some Western countries, people smoke and they will smoke privately, because it was just like a way for them to release themselves. Mm-hmm. But in China, people will tend to smoke together.
Together as a group,
together
right?
as a group, especially in some social occasions. Mm-hmm. So it's very common for us to smoke in the restaurant, in the public, in the club, or some occasions and places. Mm-hmm. And I think this phenomenon is really interesting because maybe in some elder generations, the Chinese, they will regard it as a symbol of a social status.
Mm-hmm. Maybe social status about smoking. When
yes,
it comes to smoking
because
in China.
I guess in the past maybe people the cigarette is a little bit expensive, so maybe the rich people can afford a cigarette, and also it used to be some.
So in China, in the past, what you meant was it was some kind of social etiquette, right? Mm-hmm. To give some others like cigarettes, right?
Yes, and even there is some very interesting things that we have some specific gesture to deliver a cigarette. Mm-hmm. It's like a manner.
It's like your manner. Right?
Yeah, so it's very interesting in China. So that's the reason why I think it's very difficult to produce the smoking ban in China.
Yeah, I know people used to smoke to socialize with others.
Yes,
right? So how about you, Craig? Are you a smoker? And do many people around you smoke? Yeah, Craig, you were born in Singapore.
I was born in Singapore, but I later moved to Canada.
Canada, right?
It's a bit complicated, actually. My mum's from London, actually, and my dad is actually from Beijing, so I'm mixed.
Okay.
And
so can you talk about like the smoking culture properly in London or Canada or Singapore or any other country that you used to live before? You used to live in before. So did many people around you smoke?
First of all, I'm proud to say that I've never smoked a cigarette in my life. So, having been to more than 30 countries, I would say that definitely China is one of the place, actually the undisputed number one spot with the most people smoking, period. And that's true. You can compare it to London, to Singapore, where it's quite strict. As the moderator and I have discussed, in Canada, fewer people there smoke. I would also like to expand upon one of Li's points, and that would be the the world. When I was going to high school in America, many people got hooked onto cigarettes because of peer pressure, and peer pressure is especially a problem among teenagers.
Among teenagers, right?
Yes.
Like you smoke, I think it is really cool to smoke, and then you should do it too, right?
Because they are the most easily influenced group. They haven't formed an opinion on their own, and maybe they don't have that strong, ability to resist temptation.
Yeah, that's right. And the parents should definitely probably show them more responsibility, all the local governments. So how about you? So you don't smoke? You don't smoke, definitely, I can tell.
No, no, I don't smoke. So just as Xing is that China's smoking culture is just like China's alcohol culture. It's serve as a social connection. So I'm not sure whether you ever watched a Hong Kong romantic film called 春娇与志明.
Yes, I did.
So, yeah, so the two main characters met each other when they're smoking in an alleyway because, in Hong Kong...
In the film?
Yeah.
Okay.
And in Hong Kong, smoking is not allowed in public area, and then gradually they fall in love.
Yeah, can I have a follow-up question? Like in the films, we do see a lot of footage of people smoking. And do you think it is good, or do you think that footage should be banned actually in films?
Well, yes, I think so. Especially for the movies that will be watched by the youngsters. It will influence them.
Probably can reach the film. Like youngsters shouldn't watch a film like that because it
Never
has some
help.
context with people smoking, right?
Yeah, that's the point.
That's the point. How about you? You don't smoke?
Yeah, I'm not a smoker, and I hate the smell of smoking. Not many people around me smokes. Not many of my family smokes, except for my grandpa. And few of my friends smoke, so lucky for me.
Yeah, so none of you actually smoked here, right? And Chinese authorities have been doing a lot to curb smoking in public places, as I said in the intro just now, like in Beijing, right? And the law actually was enacted in 2015. And then do you think Chinese smoking ban is strict enough? Let's start from you again.
Okay, I think, it ranges from different places. But as far as I can see in Guangzhou, I think it's not strict enough because
Guangzhou is not strict enough,
Yeah.
not as strict as Beijing.
Yes, and even compared with Shenzhen. I think Shenzhen is much more better. So in Guangzhou, I feel also witnessed some phenomena. Like the first one is that I watch people, the shopkeeper, they still selling the cigarettes to the teenagers and even children. And I went to a high school, and there, the shop in front of the high school sells a lot of different collections and different brands of the in Guangzhou.
I know in Shenzhen it is very strict. Within like 100 meters, like at the entrance of the school, you are not allowed
really?
to sell cigarettes.
Okay, but that shop is just open in front of the gate of the high school. So I think it's very a serious problem because the shopkeeper, they don't have the awareness of it.
They don't have the awareness.
Yeah, they're still selling the cigarettes to the students.
They're selling cigarettes is lots of money.
Yes, definitely. And sometimes they will hide the cigarettes in some private place or secret place. Only when the buyer come in and they will show them the cigarettes.
Oh,
they will hide the cigarette under the counter.
Yes,
right?
yes, in the
Then
counters.
you sell the
Okay.
cigarette. Okay, so Craig, how about you? Do you think the smoking ban is strict enough? You have been living in Shenzhen for quite a while. Shenzhen is really strict, right?
Right.
And so compared with your experiences in other countries, do you think it is strict enough?
Right, so I'm going to comment from personal experience first and then go to that point about cigarettes being sold in stores to minors. Being in Shenzhen, I actually had multiple occasions during which I've been offered cigarettes in public. And I was actually, I guess, not really ridiculed, but I was pushed to try them. For instance, I was in outside a nightclub, and then one of my friends actually, offered me a cigarette. And when I said, no thanks, he said, how can you be a man if you don't smoke?
It looks like a cigarette version.
Right, a cigarette version, exactly. Right. And I'll go into that point first before I talk about whether it's strict enough. In some countries, Australia is one of them, it's actually illegal for a store, any store, to have their cigarettes on public display. So they can sell it, but it must be hidden behind this counter so you can't see it. So if someone goes in the store, they have to say, hey,
but they have some regular customers, probably.
Yeah, the regular customer would say, for example, hey, can I have a pack of Marlboro Reds? And the store owner would have to lift that lid, give them the Marlboro Reds, and close the lid immediately. And he would have to do it when there are no teenagers there. So if there's a teenager waiting in line, then the teenager isn't supposed to see the cigarette and be tempted by that. Going on to whether it's strict enough, it's not strict enough, I think, but I don't think that it should be strict enough because I don't think
it should be strict
because
enough.
I don't think it's practical. It's not feasible resource-wise to actually strictly enforce no smoking. I mean, are you going to have a CCTV
Everywhere.
in every corner, and that CCTV is programmed to detect smoking and someone would get fined? I don't think that it's enforceable. It would cost a lot, a tremendous amount of resources to actually enforce that.
Okay, so what do you think? What do you think? Do you think it's strict enough?
Well, comparing to other countries like Australia or Canada or Bhutan, just as Craig just mentioned, Australia is very strict about smoking ban. So I think China's smoking ban isn't strict enough. And so if you are having lunch in a restaurant, even though there are signs saying no smoking, but you can still find someone smoking just right next to you, but you can do nothing.
You can do nothing. Okay, let me have a follow-up question. Sorry. If you were in a restaurant and you caught someone smoking, would you report to the owner of the restaurant or would you report to the local government?
Well, I might not report to the local government. If I can't stand it, I may ask them to step out the cigarettes.
Okay, so how about you? Would you report to the owner?
If I were in a restaurant and the smoke really bothers me, I will firstly go directly to the man and ask him to stop smoking. If that doesn't work, I will then go to the manager in the restaurants to ask him to deal with it. If that still doesn't work, I will dial the number of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to report the illegal smoking.
But we don't know the numbers. I'm sorry to bother you.
We can search
Yeah,
it.
We can
that's
search.
fine.
Okay.
Okay, you can do some research probably.
I did
Every
some
time you go
research,
to the restaurant. Okay. So how about you, Craig? Did you ever report to the owner of the restaurant, the local government in any other countries?
I have never done that, nor would I if given the choice, because I don't think I would go out of my way to inform the authorities just so they have a slight chance of catching someone who will likely not be there, who will likely be gone when they arrive. So I don't think it works. At most, I could tell the owner of the restaurant, hey, someone's smoking there, do something about it. But
Do something about it.
Yeah, that's all I can do. It's unfortunate, but it's the truth.
Yeah, you have something to say?
Well, I think it's probably because that our citizens' law consciousness is not that strong, so we may choose not to report to the local government. Yeah.
I just want to continue the last part
Yeah,
when I'm
of course.
talking about the dialing to authorities, because we don't know the numbers, and for me myself, I don't even know how much the money I will get punishments, and I do not really
Like
know
how much
about
money
it
you would get
for the punishment, for the fine.
for the fine?
For the fine, yeah. So actually, I think we are not educated as well as good as we expected. I never see any educations or
right.
advertisements or something about that. So and it is a reason why I said we don't know the numbers of it. We don't know where to report it to, and we don't know how can I get the help, get the support from the governments. They didn't offer us some alternative or some options to solve this kind of problems.
Anything you would like to add?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's just something problem with the education. But I did some research about the number.
Okay.
I just know that it was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's very simple, and it's the number for reporting illegal smoking in government. So I just did some research.
Did you ever call?
No, because I haven't met with the situation that the people will not listen to me if I've already told him not to smoke, but just stop.
Okay, so did you ever call? No.
Yeah, I actually just wanted to interrupt there for a sec. I haven't called, nor would I, except for there are just a very few number of situations that would make me report it. And the first one is if someone was smoking near a playground, because I think that's the most dangerous of all smoking scenarios. And the second scenario under which I would call in to report would be if someone were actually actively offering cigarettes to an underage person. Actually, in that case, I wouldn't actually wait. I would call, but I would actually tell them, hey, that's not right. You know, if there's someone in a school uniform there and the person saying, hey, try one, then those are the two that I can think of at the moment, those two situations in which I would.
So you would do something
I
about
would do
it,
something
right?
right.
Okay. So there was something really interesting on the social media today, this morning, because this is World No Tobacco Day, and they said if your boss was smoking in the office, what would you do? And you guys are still in college, and you are very young, very creative, and sometimes a little bit rebellious. So, what would you do if you caught your boss smoking in the office, in the future, of course? Yeah, what would you do?
That's a tough one.
That's a really
Yeah,
tough.
that's a tough one, right?
I face this kind of situations so many times.
Uh-huh.
I just go away because if I stay here and he will approach me and ask whether I want to join. Okay, so it's very difficult, even especially for the young girls in such occasions. It will make us feel very nervous and weird to watch our boss or others smoking.
Okay, is it correct?
It's not a situation I've been in, thankfully. I don't think it's worth going into conflict over your boss smoking. I would prefer it if he smoked in his private enclosed room
Yes,
rather
exactly.
than the main halls of our company. But that smoke in his room may still get into the air filters, which would then circulate around the whole office, which obviously isn't good. Maybe I would write an anonymous note and said, "Who's leaving the smoke?" and I would post it on somewhere on the wall for him to see. Maybe.
Okay.
But maybe he could recognize my handwriting.
Change your handwriting properly. So how are you? Did you do anything about it?
Well, maybe I'll just ignore it because I don't want to lose my job.
Yeah, you don't want to risk it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So secondhand smoking or my job?
Secondhand smoking, part of your job. Okay, you wouldn't do anything.
But I think I will like talk to him privately because
Oh.
I think it's a big problem because you are boss, you have the role of leading the staffs here. I think you have a role, so you need to like present yourself as a good model. I think so. I will like go to talk to him privately.
Okay.
Yeah.
You are really different, actually. Like among the four of you, you would like to do something proactively, stop him or her, right on the spot. Okay, for those who just tuned in, this is CGTN, and we're broadcasting at the CGTN Guangzhou studio in South China. Today is World No Tobacco Day, and we just talk about traditional cigarettes. And then if you have any questions, please leave your comments on Weibo or Facebook or CGTN app or the website or YouTube, anywhere, and we'll get back to your questions as soon as possible. And now we're going to talk about vaping or e-cigarettes. So, did you ever vape before?
No.
No.
I did.
You did,
In the
right?
airport.
Okay. So, how about it?
Feel bad.
You felt bad?
Yeah, I went to the Shenzhen exhibitions of the vaping, so maybe last month, and it's quite interesting. And I witnessed that there were so many teenagers and young people going to the export. So the mainly customer is the teenagers. So it's different from the traditional cigarette, as we mentioned just now. The traditional cigarette, their customer is mainly the elder generations, and it was like a social manner or something. But for now, it's changed. It's another culture. But I don't think that it was a good thing. I think it's also harmful to our bodies. So there is some scientific demonstrations that cigarette is very bad to our health, but it was just not promoted. And all of the advertisements or the things about e-cigarette, I think it was, it was commerce.
Hello, sorry for the technical issue just now. And for those who just tuned in, this is CGTN, and we're broadcasting live in the southern Chinese city of Guangzhou. And we're talking about smoking traditional cigarettes and also vaping or e-cigarettes. So let's come back to our discussion just now. We're talking about e-cigarettes, right? And do you think e-cigarettes, smoking e-cigarettes compared with traditional cigarettes, could probably do less harm to your body? Or what do you think? Craig, let's start from you.
Right, so definitely e-cigarettes are less harmful than traditional cigarettes, and I can actually back that up with an authoritative source. It was published in the New England Journal of Medicine with a study around 800 participants that it was conclusively shown, statistically speaking, that there was a lot less harm, and this is mainly due to the absence of oxidative stress, which is one of the main sources of harm which comes from smoking. So yes, it's an alternative, not a healthy alternative, but it's a lesser evil, I would put it that way.
It's a less evil, right?
Yeah.
So how about you? But you definitely have a different opinion.
Yes, I do agree that it was maybe less harmful to our body. But there is another even more serious problems or issues because we can see that a lot of youngsters, they were addicted to the e-cigarettes, and it will attract more youngsters and even the girls. So it was a new customer, a new group. So I think maybe like the youngsters, they would not smoke the traditional cigarettes, but they will try the e-cigarettes. So they're attracting the new people, and maybe they will get addicted to the e-cigarette. So I think it was another problem that we need to solve. So I think the smoking ban for the e-cigarette is also very important right now too.
So how about you?
Well,
You go first.
thank you.
Okay.
So, well, I think for those smokers, especially for those heavy smokers, so e-cigarettes could be a good choice to be a substitute for the traditional cigarettes. But for the non-smokers, started to choose vaping. It's not that wise enough because you still can get addicted to that.
Yes.
So you probably would get addicted to e-cigarettes once again, something new, right?
Yeah.
And you can move it up. You can take a few notches up properly.
Yes.
Okay. On to traditional cigarettes. So how about you? Do you think it's a good idea to vape to quit smoking? Because that is how some of the products were promoted in the first place when they came out in about 2003, 16 years ago.
Well, actually, I don't think that vaping can replace the traditional cigarettes. I believe that both the e-cigarettes and the traditional cigarettes have chemical substance, and it also contains nicotine. Because, like for e-cigarettes, the operating principle of the product is just to vaporize the nicotine. So I believe that it also releases some chemicals and poisonous substance that will cause damage to the immune system of our body and the organs. So in terms of health, I don't think vaping can really replace.
Yeah, vaping is still something extremely new, and in China, so far we don't have regulations. Like in Europe, they do have the regulations now, right? TBD, and also in America they have FDA, but in China we don't have the regulations now. But China actually told WTO like the Chinese authorities will regulate the industry now. And in Shenzhen, it's like both of you have been there, right? In Shenzhen, and Shenzhen is really strict with smoking, even e-cigarettes. And in April, Shenzhen started or issued a new regulation that will stop or ban smoking e-cigarettes even in public places. So what do you think? Do you think vaping and e-cigarettes should be stopped, like together with traditional cigarettes? Correct?
I think, as with traditional cigarettes, vaping should be stopped, but that's a very idealistic view of it, I guess, because it's not very enforceable. It's a well-meaning and well-intentioned, but not very. It's not. How are you going to stop it? So that's the thing. If someone says stop it, my question is how.
How, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Even the new regulations come out, and then still we have no idea. Like when it comes to law enforcement, could be another issue, right? So how about you? Do you think vaping should be or e-cigarettes should be banned?
Yes, I do think so. I think vaping and traditional cigarettes are both should be banned but we have to do this step by step. You can't just cut it directly, then it's going to be very tough. And also, if someone just vaping in the public, then the fresh air will be contaminated, even if it's less pungent than the traditional cigarettes. Yeah, so I think the vaping should be banned as well.
The vaping should be banned.
Yeah.
So how about you?
Okay, I think, I agree with them. So it is necessary to ban the smoking the e-cigarettes, but it was actually very difficult to stop the first-hand cigarettes. So I think, firstly, we can solve the second-hand cigarette issue first. Like, for example, I think it's good alternative or good methods to set up some smoking rooms in the shopping mall or airport. Both for the traditional cigarettes and also for the e-cigarettes. So I think we can ban it step by step, not too aggressive.
Step by step. Okay.
Yeah.
Every step of the way, of course. So what do you think is the best way of curbing smoking for all of you? I know it's really tough, right? Especially in China. And in China, actually, the history of banning smoking is not really long. In Beijing, it was started in 2015, only 4 years ago. And then in some of the places, probably it was not executed as well as expected. And also in some like traditional big cities like here, Guangzhou, but you don't think Guangzhou is doing well enough, right? And also Shenzhen is really strict and Shanghai is fine. So it doesn't have a really long history. And in some of the other places, then you can smoke everywhere, right, in China. Yeah. So what do you think is the best way of curbing smoking in public places? It starts from public places first. Yeah. How about you? What do you think?
I think that's wool comes from the sheep's backs, right? And it's always the case that you manufacture something and you sell something, and you produce something and you just do the trade, and that's how the market works, right? But so I think the priority of the smoking ban is to really comprehensively ban the production and the selling of no matter e-cigarettes or traditional cigarettes. And second, I think is that I think that the authority concerned should lay great emphasis on enacting a stricter law, because to imposing a higher fines and to really classifying smoking or vaping as a kind of a behavior that really violates the laws and may concerning about the criminal responsibilities. And in Bhutan, the Kingdom of Bhutan, and it is a country where the annual income for people there per person is only $800. But if you are found smoking, you will be fined with $225.
That's a lot.
Yes, that's a quite big amount of money for them. And what's more, in Bhutan, if you can't even carry cigarettes with you because it's something that violates the laws, and you might end up in jail for doing so. Okay. I think if you really want to ban the smoking, you need to take strong actions to
You need to take really tough action.
Yes.
Right?
It's too aggressive, I think.
Very aggressive.
Yeah,
so you
very
don't
aggressive.
think we should be too aggressive?
I think, as I mentioned, for the first-hand smoker, it's very difficult to stop them from smoking, and I think it's too aggressive for the first-hand smokers. So I think the first issue that really important or can be solved is to stop the second-hand smoking in the public area. So I think setting up some smoking room is very important, and it's a good method. For example, in the shopping mall, we can see a lot of nursing rooms for the pregnant ladies, but we don't have any smoking rooms for the men. So, but it's very interesting that in China, in some places, for example, Beijing or Hangzhou, the smoking rooms in the airport is closed.
Is it closed?
No, it's shut down. Okay. I got very surprised by this by this politics. I think it's not good for the smokers.
Not good for the smokers.
Yeah, it's not good for the smoker, and it is. If there isn't a smoking room, they will smoke in the public.
Okay.
So it's too aggressive in the first step.
Yeah, what do you think? Do you have anything to add? Do you think that we should have smoking rooms inside the airports? I do find there was no smoking chambers or smoking rooms in the Beijing airports anymore. We used to have those, right?
Yes.
But now it's like if you want to smoke, you have to go outside, go all of the way out.
Yeah.
Okay, so you can smoke if you want to have a smoke break. So do you think it's kind of discriminating against smokers? And smokers should also have rights to smoke?
But smokers could have their rights, but it has to be based on others' rights. Because if they smoke in public, then others will get influenced. And I don't think smoking area is good because it will give the smokers an excuse for them to smoke in public area.
Yeah, it's a good excuse for them, right?
Yeah, and also if you ever took the train, like there are smoking areas, but a lot of people are smoking in the smoking areas, but it will still influence the other passengers. Yeah.
Okay, so we have got some comments from our viewers around the world. So I have got this comment on Weibo: smoking, quit smoking is for yourself, it's also for the good of others, like what you said just now, right? Or no smoking. And we also got this comment on Facebook. It's from Patamakanthi Makipala. I hope I have pronounced your name correctly. So bad habits smoking from Sri Lanka. And also smoking is no good for health. Sorry to say that, but it's true. Yeah, of course it's true.
Smoking room and you smoke, you pay 5 yuan. So that's very fair because if we want smoking rooms everywhere in all the malls, that has such a huge cost over the whole country.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
we can't tell normal citizens like us who don't smoke to pay for that through our tax money because every month we lose our tax money. We want our tax money used on something that's constructive and would bring benefit to us personally, right?
Like when it comes to the infrastructure, the smoking room,
exactly.
there's a lot of tax money, right?
Exactly.
Okay, so for those who just tuned in, it's CGTN. We're broadcasting live in South China. And if you like our post, please share it with your friends. And also, please don't forget to give us heart if you like our discussion just now. And we talked about smoking traditional cigarettes and also e-cigarettes because today is World No Tobacco Day. Probably for the smokers out there, it could be a chance for you to quit smoking temporarily for a day. Of course, if you have any other questions, please leave your comments on Facebook or Weibo and we'll get back to your questions even after the discussion. Thank you very much and I'm going to see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Craig. Thank you.
Thank you.